Hey there, everybody, and how are you guys doing today? This is Mobile Cup of Joe's What's Brewing, our weekly Hangouts on Air live show here on Google Plus and YouTube. So tonight we have got a pretty awesome show. If you saw from the title for the channel or for the event page on Google Plus, we do have a lot of news about the brand new Android Wear Lollipop update that hit all of your Android Wear devices on your wrists this week. So a lot of news about that. We've also got some stuff about some issues between OnePlus and Cyanogen in India. Amazon and their debacle with the Google Play App Store, some big material updates we saw throughout this week, and a little espresso shot for the Nexus 6, along with kind of a little Side Latte Buyer's Guide for maybe some stocking stuffers this holiday season for your friends or family for some nice kind of tech goodies for under the Christmas tree this year. So as per usual with the show, we do have ones and zeros, Chuck Haines here, and we've also got Spec Sheet, Tony McAfee, and then Mobile Cup of Joe here with you. Unfortunately, we do not have the bearded barista Alvi or Back from the Dead Fred. They both had prior commitments. Fred is off doing a gig tonight because his musical career is becoming too popular for us here on the channel on Friday nights. And then Alvi is going on a wonderful cruise, so he's leaving us here in the kind of cold weather. It's getting to December now. He's taking a wonderful cruise. So we all hate you, Alvi, but have a fun time while you're on that cruise. And we're going to go ahead and get into the show. If you do have a question at any point throughout the show, go ahead and drop it either in the comments on YouTube or the Q&A is open for you as well. And also be sure to use the hashtag MCOJBrew and all the socials, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Snapchat, Pinterest, or that new LO social media website. Anywhere you want to go, we are on there. So just use the hashtag MCOJBrew. Leave us a question or comment throughout the week, and we will get to those if you guys do decide to use those. So let's go ahead and kick off the show tonight with some freshly brewed news, and let's go ahead and get right into that Android Wear Lollipop update. So Chuck and Tony, what is brewing?
Well, as most of you who have Android Wear devices probably know by now, the Android Wear 5.0.1, I guess, is officially what the version of Lollipop that got rolled out to Android Wear was. Yes, it was Lollipop. Or Lollipop-based, I should say, for Android Wear, brought a whole slew of new features, some of which the priority notification system that you see on Lollipop, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that basically allows you to set your notifications to allow all notifications, allow only priority notifications, where you can set it such that like only starred contacts can call you, alarms, or you can have no notifications whatsoever. You can now set that on your watch. One caveat I will say with that particularly is whatever you set on your watch, if you have Lollipop on your phone, it will sync it. So if you set priority notifications on your watch, it's going to set priority notifications on your phone, and vice versa, which for me is a little bit of a pain point. Maybe if we have some time later, I'll get into that. I'm actually super frustrated by that. But some other features, supposedly better battery life, although on my Gear Live I haven't noticed any better battery. It's probably been the same, if not perhaps maybe a little bit worse. But you know, I've only had the update for a couple days, so who knows. Also has a theater mode, which will basically stop your watch, my understanding, stop your watch from making any noise or flashing, like if you're in watching a movie or whatever. It has a sunlight mode, I think it's called, where it'll turn the brightness up, so if you're outside. And then I think the one thing a lot of people liked is undismissible cards, I guess you want to call it. Whereas if you were to swipe away a notification, you actually have a brief period of time where you can swipe down and bring that notification back. So if you were to accidentally swipe it away. I do have to say it's gotten me a couple times where I've swiped away a notification and then tried to swipe a notification down to make it small. And it's actually tried to bring back the old notification. So I think there's still a little bit of work that they have to do there. And then, of course, finally, watch faces. The watch faces, I got to say, is my favorite thing of the entire update, and they are awesome. I'm rocking one right now and absolutely loving it. It's called Odyssey. It's just got so much information on it and just looks really, really cool. Tony, I know you've got the 360 there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate with the issue you take with the no interruptions thing, but that's because I want my phone and my watch to sync up the same way. So when you look at it from the direction of, or from the stance of, hey, now I can control one more thing on my phone from my wrist, then it's cool. But when you're looking at it from your point of view, which you do want your phone doing certain things and your watch doing other things, then it is a little frustrating for you. My big thing about that enhancement that they made, or that change that they made, is that I really like that I can just swipe down and get more information now, rather than every time I swipe down just to see the battery percentage or the date, I'm risking accidentally muting my notifications, and then if I don't remember or catch it that I muted it, then it's just muted and I don't get notifications for a while. So that always bothered me about the 44W1, whatever it was, W2 update. So I do like that, and then of course, that's where swiping down from there, you can actually access the rest of your notifications from there, or the rest of your new features from there. So I like that. I do notice a bit of a battery life improvement on the 360, and that's because the 360 didn't have all that great battery life to begin with. It wasn't horrible. It made it through the day. For me, it made it through the day as long as I didn't have the Motorola Connect app installed. When I installed the app, it would die halfway through the day. So I used it for a week happily without the app, installed the app, and it didn't make it through a day for 2 days straight. I took it off, and went back to regular battery life. So I don't know what the issue with that was. Not everyone who has a 360 experiences that, but I did. So to me, especially now, like you said, Chuck, the new 5.0 update brought pretty much the only really cool feature the Moto app had, which was different faces, and now we got that natively. So you don't need to be supplementing with the OEM app when your Google app works just fine. But overall, I think I'm just happy to be in Lollipop land. There's not really a whole lot of differences. I like the and by the way, if you get 5.0 on your watch and you don't have 5.0 on your connected phone, you're not going to get all the features of 5.0 on your watch. You won't have the same notification switch, or the same no interruptions or priority mode option on your watch, because your phone doesn't know how to interpret that. So you aren't going to get the full feature of the 5.0 update on your wrist just because your phone doesn't know what to do with all of it. But at least if you have a flagship phone, you should be looking forward to Lollipop pretty soon anyway.
Yep, most definitely. And
yeah, we should have a question on the Q&A from Mark Hoyle, and he said for the Lollipop and Android Wear, he said that easier settings access is a big plus for him. So I actually don't have Lollipop because I'm without an Android Wear device, unfortunately. So is that something you guys have been noticing, settings access, or settings at least being a bit easier to access with the new update?
Well, I know with the G Watch, I don't know about the Gear Live, but with the G Watch, which we purchased for my dad, I thought was odd there's no button on it. So I wasn't sure how you'd get to settings before, because the 360, to get to settings, all you do is hold down the button on the side until it vibrates and you get your settings menu, where I don't know how you do it from a watch that doesn't have a button. Well, now you swipe down from the top and then swipe all the way over, and you've got the access to your settings right there. And of course, Android Wear Mini Launcher did have access to settings, but not everybody, especially casual users, probably aren't going to be using the Mini Launcher. So yes, very, very big plus there in having an actual settings button in the menu.
Yeah, it definitely is. Same way with the Gear Live, it has a button, so I used to hold it down and go to the settings. A couple nice things also with the Android Wear Companion app that comes with the phone. It does actually have a battery stats now for your phone. So it's probably going to be very, very hard to see, but you can see what you're seeing here, which actually looks like the battery stats from Lollipop. That's actually the battery stats from the phone. So now you can actually tell if apps are killing the battery on your watch, just like you could tell if apps are killing the battery on your phone. You also kind of get that nice graph of a breakdown, which is kind of cool. I haven't used it a whole lot yet, but it's definitely pretty nice. A couple other things is you now have the ability to, like I have ambient mode, or what Moto calls ambient mode, turned off on mine. So my watch isn't on all the time because that just kills battery. So I tilt the wrist and it turns on. Well, you can actually now turn that off too. So you can just have it so that you actually have to turn the watch on manually if you don't want the whole wrist flick. I did notice, at least for me on my Gear Live, the wrist flick seems to be more sensitive with the Lollipop update. So whereas I used to kind of have to really give the wrist a good snap to get it to turn on, it seems to be turn on with a much more fluid motion. The sound problem I had, Tony, and we've talked about this, and just so the viewers know, the way I used to operate with the watch is I wanted my watch to vibrate for every notification, but I only wanted my phone to vibrate for priority notifications. So if I got a call from my wife, or text from my wife, or I got a call from my parents, or someone that I deemed important, I wanted to know that notification was coming in, so I wanted my phone to make noise. But even though I am in the tech world, my phone always making noise actually annoys me. So for the most part, I like to keep my phone silent and just have it vibrate a little bit on my wrist. Well, I can't do that anymore. So what I've unfortunately had to settle for is a little toggle in Android Wear which actually mutes the phone completely now and only makes the sound on my watch. Now, the one caveat to that I found this morning, I used to have downtime settings on my phone where at night it would turn on priority notifications so the phone would be silent at night. Well, apparently when it comes out of downtime and it turns the notifications back on your phone, it ignores the setting that says keep it quiet with the watch unless you reboot your phone. It's an extremely annoying, and I went through that this morning. So I've actually had to turn downtime settings off now so that I don't have to reboot my phone every day.
That's awful. Last feature that we missed was you can now take screenshots on your watch. So
nice.
In the Android Wear app, it actually is an update where right from the not the settings gear, but the little menu right next to the settings gear, if you don't have an actual menu key on your phone, you can just tap the little menu button and click. Oh wow! I reinstalled everything today, and I have an old version of the app now. But right in the menu, you can actually just click Take Wearable Screenshot, and it will screenshot whatever's on your phone, on your watch right then. If the watch's face is off, it will screenshot black. If the watch's face is on, it will screenshot whatever's on the screen. So if you find a really cool watch face, or you make your own really cool watch face in Face or Facer, then you can screenshot it and send it out instead of having to do the ghetto, what everybody's had to do so far.
Which I tried to actually do with the Moto X, and I couldn't actually get it to focus well enough to actually get a picture of the watch face. It was always blurry.
Yeah, I know I've been a victim to that many a time when I had my Gear Live. But we're talking about the Android Wear companion app update. Actually, this past week, we saw a lot of updates in the Google Play Store for different applications. So we had Android Wear. We also saw the Chromecast application get updated, Hangouts, and YouTube. All these apps finally got some material design loving going on. So, Chuck, what kind of big differences and updates have we seen in these apps so far with these new material design updates?
Well, I think the biggest one for this week was probably Hangouts. Hangouts was kind of material before, I guess, but it wasn't quite. So the update this week kind of brought it more in line with material. But I think for some people, some of the bigger things that the new update had is now you have a last online indicator or a last seen indicator. So let's say you're in a group chat and you want to know, when's the last time someone was there. Google will actually give you like a last seen, last time they were online kind of thing, which is kind of useful. Also, Hangouts has gotten a lot smarter. So, for example, if you get a Hangout message where someone says, like, where are you? It'll actually pop up a little button that you can just say share location, and it'll send the location to that person. So kind of a little bit of Google Now-esque smartness they're kind of bringing into the Hangouts update. And of course, I guess they had to compete with Facebook, so we've now got the wonderful stickers. And something I also found out today that works both on the desktop client as well as the app itself is certain keywords now will trigger the little guy that comes up and he does things. Like if you type, ROT, what is it?
ROFL.
ROFL. Then the little guy will come up and start laughing, or woohoo will do things. So let's see if we can see it there, Joe.
Is LMAO one, or is that not?
Yeah,
Nope.
let me see. This one I know is one.
OFL.
So
Ha 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 ha. That's four
Okay.
ha's.
All right, I'll do the
Woohoo.
woohoo. All right,
WOOHOO.
so if we type a woohoo in here real quick and we send that, you can see you get the little guy
yeah,
up
hold it
right
up
there.
there, Joe. We'll show it again here.
Yeah, I'm sorry for those of you listening on the podcast, but it
You
basically
can't
there's
actually see.
it's a
So
waste of a couple minutes for you, but it's really cool. I know found that today, and pretty much in our chat during earlier this afternoon, it was just like a string of us putting like LMAO, OMG, SOB, WTF, all these acronyms, trying to figure out what Google had put in there that we could toy around with, but. Yeah, it's got a nice little Easter egg to find today. Just makes Hangouts a little magical, and gotta love that Google-ness that they threw in there for it.
yeah.
With it.
So if anyone finds out the keywords, please tweet us or
Yes.
using the hashtag and let us know. We've been trying like crazy to find them all out, and I'm actually surprised this went under the radar.
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen any news outlet reporting on this yet, and usually things like this get reported on pretty quickly. So for those of you guys watching, tweet us or message us, and definitely let us know. Leave a comment on the Google Plus page or the YouTube page. And let us know if you find a different one that we haven't mentioned or we haven't talked about, because it's kind of cool. I'll just sit there and type them just to see the little guy popping up. So
Yeah, and you heard it here first. If we're the first to break it, you heard on Mobile Cup of Joe with the hashtag MCAJBrew. So we got you covered with that. But moving on to some more stuff though with the Play Store, kind of in general with that. Amazon had a bit of trouble this week. So basically, I'll let Chuck kind of take this over in a minute. So basically, the Amazon updated the basic Amazon application on the Google Play Store, which is their standard app where you could go and buy your all your goodies from Amazon. Well, in a new update they put out on the Play Store, basically you could download applications that were on the Amazon App Store, but directly through the standard Amazon app. Well, that is a no-no according to Google's terms of service, so they actually had to pull the official Amazon app off the Play Store and replace it with the Amazon Shopping app. So, not really sure why Amazon thought they could get away with this, because with the Google Play Store, if you have an application, Amazon was fine with their Amazon App Store distributing their digital content that way in their applications that way. But that's a big no-no by Google standards to be able to distribute applications within your apps or within the base Amazon app on Google Play. So I'm sure there's a lot more technical details I'm just screwing up really bad right now. So I'll let Chuck go into a bit more detail with why that's kind of a big not an okay thing to do by Google standards.
Well, interestingly enough, Amazon's not actually afraid to buck the system. This isn't the first time they've done it. I don't know how many people remember, but it was probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago, where Amazon released their Kindle app on iOS for tablets. And actually, part of the Apple developer terms at the time was if you offered any kind of purchases in your app, you had to offer it through in-app purchases. That way, Apple would get their 30%. Well, Amazon didn't do that. Basically, the only way you could purchase the Kindle books was through Amazon, not through in-app purchases. And of course, then Apple removed their app, and of course they had to work around it. Kind of similar to the situation they're in right now. So Amazon's no stranger to bucking the system. But interestingly enough, they actually were kind of sliding under the radar before with their Amazon app, because you actually could install Amazon's apps. What I mean by that is like Prime Video, and I think like their MP3 app. You could actually install some of the Amazon apps through their app itself. So they're kind of flying under the radar. I think they just kind of took it too far. And then, of course, Google's like, well, we're not going to let someone else's app store be on our app store. Is there any technical reason for it? No, other than competition. Who's going to let someone else compete on your own app store? So I don't know.
It's like an Outback letting a McDonald's come into their foyer. I mean, because they're selling the same stuff, they just don't have as much or as good as stuff. So I totally understand them not letting the Amazon App Store in their App Store, but I think that if you're selling something that you can't, if you're only doing apps you can't get through Google Play, I think that's that reasonable that they would be allowed to have that in the Google Play Store.
Right. Well, talking about kind of controversial topics and stuff, OnePlus is in the headlines once again this week. And that's kind of the sound we've come to expect with OnePlus. I know the company they do try, but it seems like a lot of the times they just try to screw themselves over. So I'll kind of run through what's been going down in India between Cyanogen and OnePlus. So I think it was a little over a week ago now, Cyanogen came out and said that they had partnered with Micromax, which is a big distributor of Android smartphones in India, to be the exclusive updater of the new Micromax phone that's actually going to be running Cyanogen mod out of the box. So Cyanogen mod came out and said that, you know what, we're going to be updating this Micromax phone, but the OnePlus that was just announced to be coming to India would not be getting updates anymore. So OnePlus came out and said that they didn't see this coming at all, which kind of, you got to think, how did you not see this coming if Cyanogen mod or Cyanogen Inc. is the creator of the operating system for your one and only smartphone? But that aside, Cyanogen came out. We're not going to update the OnePlus one that's coming to India that was just announced to be coming to India. We're going to go ahead and buddy with Micromax. So that news broke, and as you'd expect, people got pretty ticked off at Cyanogen and at OnePlus for good reasons. Well, then a few days after that, Cyanogen came out again and said, you know what, we're sorry, we're going to go ahead and we're going to update the Indian version of the OnePlus One. So that news came out, and it was like, okay, well, things are going good. Maybe Cyanogen and OnePlus are getting their crap together. Well, as you would come to expect if you followed OnePlus for any length of time, you know there's no good ending to this story. Cyanogen came out and actually made a statement after they said they would be updating the Indian version of the OnePlus One, and in this statement they said, to clarify, or quotes here, to clarify misinformation out there, the OnePlus One will get over-the-air firmware updates for all global devices, including global devices for our users in India. Rather than have misinformation continue to circulate out there, we felt it important to bring this matter to rest. So basically what they're saying is that the OnePlus One that's being sold in India is being sold directly and being sold exclusively in India through Amazon India. So what they're saying is that you can buy the global version of the OnePlus One, and that'll get updates, but the one that's being sold exclusively in India on Amazon India will not be getting updates. So basically they came out and said they would be updating it, but really they left it kind of murky and didn't go into too much detail, then came out again saying, actually, we're not going to update it. So you can blame OnePlus, you can blame Cyanogen, but really they're kind of both in the wrong here. OnePlus must have seen something like this coming. Cyanogen really screwed them over by partnering with Micromax and just kind of pulling the rug out from under them. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Because you know, Cyanogen, they're still kind of a new company in the whole grand scheme of things. They really just became an official company within the past year or two now, I think. And then OnePlus, we know they haven't had the best track record to keep things nice. So what are your thoughts on this whole debacle that's been going on with OnePlus and Cyanogen with this whole India issue?
I have a very short thought, and it's that India is an Asian country. The Asian OnePlus One never had Cyanogen mod on it. The Asian OnePlus One has ColorOS on it. It shipped with 4.3, not 4.4 CM11S. So what you're hearing here is just a huge misunderstanding, and CM came back out and said, wait, no. If you bought a phone with ColorOS, it will be updated with ColorOS. If you bought a phone with CM11, it will be updated with CM. So what we're actually hearing here is a bunch of people who got their wires crossed. And yeah, I mean, it was, yes, the initial report that was very inflammatory to anyone who purchased a device with Cyanogen mod on it and hears that you're not going to be updating it. Well, that's stupid, which on the one hand, yeah, that's stupid. On the other hand, if you own a device like a Nexus or something that has a specially built custom firmware on it and you expect other people to be updating it, I blame you. Because unless you're buying a regular US Motorola, HTC, Samsung phone and running it stock, you should not be relying on OTA updates. I'm sorry. I believe that. Especially when you can sideload and not lose any information. But I digress. The point is, I think that that's what we're hearing. We're hearing a big misunderstanding of people who are buying, or they're just talking about, no, we're not going to be updating devices that did not run Cyanogen mod. If it had a device ID that ran Cyanogen mod initially, yes, it's going to get updates because they're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, send us back the list of all those devices that were sold in India that ran CM originally, and we'll just have to, cut them out of our OTA list. No, that's not how it works. So to me, I think it's a huge misunderstanding. I think a lot of people have just taken it too far and just jumped the gun, just like any thread you've ever read on XDA.
Yeah, especially with it's kind of the track OnePlus has made for themselves. If it's got OnePlus in the title, and if there's any trail of controversy or any trail of something being done wrong, you just kind of have to expect something like this to get blown out of proportion, like it obviously has been. So moving on from that, though, we've got a couple other interesting stories. We've got one news story about Iowa releasing their first smartphone driver's license. So I haven't looked into too much detail about this, so I'll let either Chuck, you, or Tony, what is going on with Iowa and their smartphone driver's license right now?
Well, apparently what Iowa is looking to do is replace the traditional or have an additional option. All of us have the nice little plastic driver's license that, we get to go to the lovely DMV, stand in line with the most pleasant of people usually.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. And waste our day at the DMV to get that new plastic license. Well, I think what Iowa is trying to do here is perhaps make that a little bit more pleasant experience by allowing you to digitize that onto your phone. Now, obviously, this comes with a whole slew of issues. The most of which I think people are concerned with right now is the fact that if you get pulled over, that means that you have to potentially give your phone to a police officer to show you driver's license to. Now, look, I'm not saying that a police officer is not trustworthy. I think that that's not what I'm saying here at all. So let me very cautiously say what I'm trying to say here is that I don't give my phone to anyone else. Period. I don't care who you are, so I don't want to give my phone to anyone. So I can understand the concerns, and of course there's people that raise concerns that said, oh well, what if I get an incriminating text message while the police officer is looking at my driver's license? Well, my thought is, well, don't have someone send you an incriminating text message, of course, but I can understand what people are thinking there. But the company behind the actual driver's license itself has said that the idea behind it is that you actually will not have to give up.
It looks like we have lost Chuck there.
Yeah, and your video went out, so I think it's a Hangouts issue, not Chuck's.
Well, with that going down, I don't know too much about that story, so we can go ahead and talk about. We'll jump back into it if. Well, there goes Chuck right there. So, little debrief right there. Are you with us, Chuck?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My Chrome apparently decided to go a little bit wonky there. Anyway, long story short is I think it's a cool idea. Like anything that's first generation, it's going to have its hiccups, but we'll see where it goes. It's kind of a cool idea. I'm all for carrying less plastic around. That's why I actually have one of the coins on the way that was supposed to be here last month, and I still haven't gotten it, but that's a story for another day, because I don't want to carry around 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of plastic. I don't want to carry around anything but my phone, really, but unfortunately, mobile payments just haven't taken off in the U.S. yet.
I think it's a good idea, but I think we need to see more unification of things before we do. We need to see something more like, I don't know, like one of those concept devices from Samsung's last unboxing or last unboxed event with the slide out screen or the open screen, and we need to see something more like what Fred talked about with the multiple personas. You need to be able to say, open up my driver's license and put the lock screen up at the same time, that kind of thing. So enhancements we just aren't seeing yet. You can make a emergency call from your phone while it's locked. So you should also be able to access the person's identification, legal identification, without anything that could be stolen. So legal identification with no license number, with no SSN, stuff like that. But we're just not seeing that. So I think they're a little bit ahead of the gun, and that could scare a lot of people off. But I don't think this is definitely not the next step. I think the next step is chip IDs in your skin, stuff like that. I just don't think that the next step is something that is in your phone for an ID. For something that's like, don't make something digital that is so often and easily faked. I mean, unless you have foolproof ways of doing it, which, if we know our government and the way they do things on the internet, healthcare.gov, I would not be, you know what I mean. Anyway.
Yeah. So well, kind of moving on from that, this is kind of a bad transition, but the Pirate Bay has been in the news for some interesting stuff really the past couple of days. So I haven't read, once again, not really prepared for these news stories. I haven't read too much into this, but essentially the Pirate Bay, the Swedish police kind of got them, and the servers were down for quite some time. And are they still up now? Did they come back up, or is they still pretty much down?
You can't reach the piratebay.se right now, so yeah. At least earlier today.
So a little technical background on the Pirate Bay, or at least what we know of. Obviously some of their servers were in Sweden. They were kind of taking advantage of the lax nature of the IP in Sweden. But the biggest thing that was in Sweden was their load balancer. For those of you guys who aren't too technical, the load balancer is essentially when you request the Pirate Bay, the load balancer says, go here. That's the server you want to hit to actually download the content. So the Pirate Bay actually has servers all over the world, but the main hub of how you got to the Pirate Bay was in Sweden. So I think the biggest thing that was taken down, from my understanding, was the actual load balancer itself there. So the actual thing that said, go here, go there. I am sure that they will have it back up as soon as they find a country to flee to. But as of right now, I don't think it was back up. Although, interestingly enough, one of the co-founders actually said he was happy to see the takedown.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. But basically, from what he said, it kind of sounded like that the Pirate Bay had kind of grown into not what they had originally envisioned it for. And that apparently originally they had decided at the 10-year mark they were going to take it down anyway. So kind of some interesting comments from a co-founder about taking down what is presumably your company, or your product.
Yeah, I think what I noticed about it was, because I wasn't keeping up with much news this week, I just kind of saw the headlines pop up on my feed basically and didn't click on anything. What I saw was one day, is it North Korea that hit Sony and leaked all these videos, and then not even a week later, hey, the Pirate Bay's been taken down. So like all it took was one huge company like Sony to get hit with several leaked movies, and by several I mean like 120 data and metadata from 120 different films, that being scripts and everything from scripts to actual full produced movies that haven't been released yet, were breached from Sony's servers. And then days later I'm seeing, oh look, the biggest and most used, at least in my circles, pirate website has been taken down by police. Like all it took was one huge company to go to the police and be like, this is where it's all coming from, which is funny to me because it's like with all the celebrity pictures, all those celebrity pictures, like not a single cease and desist or remove whatever those, I forget what the MCA or whatever those letters are that say remove this information from your website. Not a single website actually ended up having legal action taken against them for the stuff that was on it. So I'm really surprised to see the Pirate Bay actually going down after something like this. But this is an issue of money and intellectual property, not selfies. So,
well, yeah, it's we didn't really talk about the Sony hack at all, which is actually kind of interesting. Yeah, it was rumored to be North Korea. I think, although to me, okay, so a bunch of movies were leaked. Who cares? I think the bigger thing about that hack was actually that a lot of emails and personal information was actually stolen in that hack as well. Which I think is the bigger thing behind that hack. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. was behind this somehow. The U.S. has been trying to extradite Kim.com for how many years now? and get him before a jury for, supposedly being implicit in, illegal stuff, illegal apps and music and that kind of stuff. So, the U.S. MPAA and RIAA unfortunately have more money than they do good with.
Well, to hop back real quick, we've got another question from a Mark Hoyle in the Q&A, and he brought up, well, the question went away, but he had brought up a comment about the driver's license in Iowa being on smartphones, and he said something about how you would stray away from counterfeit driver's license since you don't have the hologram that's on the license right now on the smartphone. So that is definitely something to think about. Chuck, did you read anything about? Did they say anything about that, or?
No, I mean it's a special app that you have to use on the phone. So it's not like it's a PDF or something like that you're downloading and showing. It's a special app. I didn't read anything specific about that, but I'm sure that they've got security and things in place to ensure that it's not counterfeit. Plus, I mean, the police can run anyone's license anyway. I mean, it wouldn't take but a second to scan a license and go, oh, that's not the real license because it doesn't match what we have in our system.
Well, and the other thing is, it would be as secure as we all use I think everyone in our circle uses our phone to pay for stuff. So if you're comfortable, your credit card is worth more than your identity, dude. So if you're comfortable with putting your credit card in your phone, it's probably going to be exactly as secure, if not slightly more secure than whatever stuff you use for your digital wallet.
Yeah.
Maybe
So just gonna wrap up our freshly brewed news. We do have a couple stories involving T-Mobile. The first of those is that the Nexus 9 just became available for purchase on T-Mobile. So prior to this, the Nexus 9 was only available through the Google Play Store and Best Buy, I believe. So it's now officially available to purchase on T-Mobile, and now the Google Play Store as well. You can purchase the LTE model in 32 gigabytes as well. So, Chuck, you've got that.
Side note to that, all the other models on Amazon are $50 off right now. So, if you're thinking about one and money was an issue, probably go for Amazon.
Or if you were thinking about one, don't. Go buy an iPad. I still stand behind that. I use my N9 almost daily, and while it has gotten better, don't waste your money on it. Sorry, HTC, or Google, but don't waste your money on it. Go get an iPad.
Well, we also have some other T-Mobile news. Some that's a bit better than Nexus 9, if that's not your cup of tea for tablet choices. T-Mobile announced new unlimited 4G LTE data plans recently. And screen sharing it right now, so if you're watching the show, you can kind of see that chart comparison right there with the new Simple Choice plan. But if you're listening to the podcast, basically with the new T-Mobile Simple Choice plan with unlimited 4G LTE data, 2 lines on your plan on T-Mobile with unlimited talk, text, and 4G LTE data is going to run you $100 a month, and that is compared to Sprint. That's $120 for any phone, and then a Verizon for 20 gigs of data for 2 lines. You're looking at $180, and AT&T $160 for 30 gigs. But also with this, you've got $50 per additional line, no data overage costs. And with the plans, with the new unlimited 4G LTE plans, you have data tethering, unlimited music streaming, Wi-Fi calling, unlimited international texting from the U.S., unlimited data and text in over 120 countries and destinations, and unlimited in-flight texting with GoGo. So if you want this plan for a family of 4, it's only going to run you $180, and that's a pretty substantial price difference when you compare that to Sprint's $320, Verizon's $360 with 40 gigs of shared data, and AT&T's $210 with 40 gigs of shared data as well. So T-Mobile has really been kind of killing it with these changes they've been making to the whole service with the uncarrier events, with the jump events, and now unlimited 4G LTE, $100 for 2 people or $180 for a family of 4. It's not the cheapest if you look at maybe some prepaid plans or some kind of other non-contract plans, but for kind of like the big top 4 dogs, when you compare T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile is really kind of killing it right now with everything they've been throwing with their service. Now, personally, I would be on T-Mobile an instant. But while their plans and services might be cheap, their coverage still does not get out my way at all. And I know that's a bit issue for Chuck too. So yeah, definitely good.
Yeah, the
What was
issue
that?
is you get what you pay for. No matter
Yeah.
what, you can't avoid. There's nothing you can do to avoid getting what you pay for. So if you're in the situation where you can use T-Mobile, like I am, where I don't really travel all that much, and I'm in full 4G LTE for everywhere I go on a daily basis, it's good because it saves me money. Just like with Alvi, who proved that he can go without cell service altogether and just use Wi-Fi. It's awesome if you can do it, but you get what you pay for. Alvi, I'm sorry, he's not doing it now, but if in that month he broke down on the side of the road, he'd be walking. That's it's just one of the dangers. For me, being on T-Mobile, I'm excited by the fact that they're introducing this, but I'm more excited by what else they introduced, which is the plan that I'm on. They reintroduced it. It was a special for before Thanksgiving, $100 for 4 lines, and they reintroduced that. So that will hopefully be a special that sticks around for a while. But the way that T-Mobile's business model has been working, I don't think so. I think what it is they're going to keep going this way, introduce a special, bring the McRib out once a year, and then kill it, and then bring it back out to try to sell more. That just seems to be what T-Mobile's been doing lately, and it's the only way they can get people interested in leaving a provider with superior coverage.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I guess defend Verizon here, but this was what it may sound like. Can you bring those plans back up, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. Let's hop back to that really quick.
Because I want to know how they got $90 per line additional. Because there is nothing on Verizon that costs $90 for another phone line. So I wanted to see that real quick to make sure I was reading that.
Let me go ahead and present that real quick.
So they've got 2 lines with unlimited talk, which, right, okay, Verizon doesn't have unlimited. So their 20 gig plan might be $180, but $90 a line?
It's for a $180 plan, 2 lines. They're just splitting it down the middle because they don't have the details.
Okay, well, see, it's confusing here because that says cost per additional line. So I do want to put a little caveat here that it's not $90 per additional line. So Verizon is $15, or it might be $10 now actually per additional line if you buy your phone outright, or it's $40 but it's $40 if you're on contract, which is the most expensive. It's definitely not $90. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research into that number because I don't.
Family of 4 plan's also wrong because that's just double what the family of 2 is and double the data.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't want to sound like I'm defending Verizon because even though I have Verizon, and they work for me, I hate to defend them. But I do think that pricing is a little bit off on the Verizon, just from personal experience. I have 3 or 4 lines and 15 gigs of data, and I pay $140 a month or something. So. I don't pay nearly what they're saying you would pay on there.
Well, yeah, but if you can get T-Mobile service though where you do live, definitely some good plans they've got right there. But moving on though to a phone that is running on T-Mobile, unless you guys have any closing thoughts with our freshly brewed news, or all right, well, we're good to go. So moving on to a phone that is available on T-Mobile, we're going on to the Espresso Shot, which is the kind of mini review that we do here every night on What's Brewing. So tonight and there goes my Moto X actually. I set this launch command to be What's Brewing, and now we've got a launch Google search going right there. So try to whisper quietly on What's Brewing. We do a espresso shot of a phone that I've got in to just kind of run over really quick, kind of my initial impressions of the phone, do a little mini review. So this week I do have the Motorola and Google Nexus 6. I was this was sent to me by AT&T, so this is not the T-Mobile version, it is running on AT&T with that infamous AT&T logo below all that other branding with Motorola Nexus. So if you want a phone that's really kind of touting all of the branding in the mobile space right now, this phone is for you. Review's done. Nope, we got a little bit more to go, but the Nexus 6, this is without a doubt the biggest Android phone of all of 2014, both theoretically and physically. The phone has a 6-inch display right here, 2560 by 1440, Quad HD, and the phone, just picking out of the box for the first time, is gigantic. To compare it to the Moto X, which has a 5.2-inch display, you can see right there that size difference is pretty substantial. The Nexus 6 is much wider and taller than the Moto X. But you can also see, too, that not specs-wise, but from a design standpoint, these devices are extremely similar. They both have the same metal frame around the side of them, so they both have a metal trim around the whole frame of the device. Both of them on the back do have a dimple for you kind of rest your finger, and they both have that ring flash right there, where there's kind of a ring around the camera lens, and the flashes are both of the dual LED flashes are placed in there. Now, just kind of holding it in the hand, the phone itself does feel pretty good actually. For being such a monstrous device. You do have a dimple in the back, which is actually more reminiscent to the Moto X of 2013 than the one we've seen on the 2014 model. Now, one thing though, I will say that with it being such a big phone, the plastic that Motorola used here for the Nexus 6 is extremely slippery. It's not like that wonderfully grippy black plastic we saw on the Nexus 5 last year. It's a very, very slippery plastic on here. There's no grip to it whatsoever. And when you're dealing with a phone this darn big, it is very hard to hold in the hand and really just operate it at all. Now, with such a big display, though, you have a beautiful screen to experience Lollipop on. And with all Nexus products, pretty much the design of it is just kind of meant to get out of the way and for you to really just get into the latest and greatest version of whatever the newest version of Android is, this case being Lollipop. So Android Lollipop on here, without a doubt, does look really nice. The phone is very snappy. Everything runs really great on it. All of Lollipop is here. And this is probably, without a doubt, one of the purest ways you're going to find Lollipop on any Android smartphone. So I haven't had the device for too long, but one thing I have noticed is that a couple things with the phone being this big, with the way the market is going right now, it's kind of obvious that Google had to make a big size smartphone. Apple made the iPhone 6 Plus with a 5.5-inch display. We saw the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which the Note 4 or the Note line is always kicking out big screen sizes, but the whole market in general is just really moving forward to these big size smartphones. So Google really did kind of have to make a big phablet here with the Nexus 6. But 6 inches to me, it is a very nice smartphone if you're just kind of around your house most of the day and you don't wear skinny jeans like I do, where it's very difficult to put this in your pocket. It's going to be fine for that, but one-handed operation for the phone is pretty much impossible. Although you do have the dimple, which kind of gives you a decent way to grip it. The screen size is very cumbersome, and I really do love big size smartphones. We talked about it a lot here on the show. But the Nexus 6 just feels a bit too unwieldy, or unyieldly, however you say that, for my personal use. Now, the other thing I was noticing too is that this is stock Android Lollipop, and while that is a great thing, it's also kind of its own worst enemy in the sense that there's no optimization whatsoever for the phone being as big as it is. So basically, I can go over to my Moto X Pure Edition, which is running Lollipop as well, and have the exact same software experience on a 5.2-inch display that I have on a 6-inch display. Now, this is nothing new in the world of big-size smartphones, but you do look at Samsung with their TouchWiz, although the software may look ungodly hideous at times with the way Samsung does utilize TouchWiz and the way they do design it. You do have to give Samsung credit where credit is due, in the sense that, yes, they do use multi-window, which is still the best way to multitask on Android, where you can have 1, 2, 3, even 4 apps, I think, now running on the screen at one time. And then you look at even the iPhone 6 Plus, although that wasn't the most elegant way to utilize having a smartphone being easier to use in one hand with such a big screen size, you can still double tap the home button a couple times, I think, or perform some action where the whole entirety of the screen of the phone would shrink down to a lower portion so you could access the phone a bit easier. Well, with Lollipop on here, there is no optimization like that whatsoever, so basically you just have a blown-up version of Android Lollipop on the Nexus 6, and it just feels like a blown-up version of the software I'm running on the Moto X right now. So it kind of runs into that whole fragmentation issue with Android in the sense that applications are generally made for smartphones with a form factor of about 5.5 inches and below. You get up to 6 inches and you notice the applications do look a bit blown up. It doesn't look quite like it's meant to be made for the application. And I've been noticing that a lot with the Nexus 6 here. I was playing Trivia Crack the other day because apparently that's a big thing now, and that's what kids my age are playing, so I had to get it and go ahead and play some matches on there. But I did realize and did kind of notice that the way the whole app was laid out did look a bit weird on the Nexus 6 just because of such a big display and the screen resolution is so high that not all the applications are optimized for it. Now, the phone itself, it's very snappy, although I did notice a couple little instances where I'd kind of hit the multitasking button and just kind of stutter for a second before the actual overview interface would pop up. Now, it's a very fast phone, but it's nothing that's really going to blow you away with performance. Now, I'm kind of leaning more toward thinking that this is an issue with Lollipop itself, because you've got a Snapdragon 805 in here, 3 gigs of RAM, Adreno 420 GPU, so you have very, very impressive specifications in the phone. So I think that's more of a Lollipop issue with it being such an early build of Android. I've only had the phone. This is only my first full day I've had with it. It still feels really great. The camera, from what I've seen so far, is pretty decent. It's definitely the best we've seen on any Nexus product to date. Battery performance, I haven't got a great idea for it yet, but so far it hasn't really been blowing my mind. Hopefully I will be able to test that out a bit more within the coming days here over this next weekend. You do have front-facing speakers on here, which are dual stereo speakers, which is very nice to see, especially on the Moto X, which utilize a front-facing speaker design, but only the bottom speaker was actually a speaker. The top one is exclusively as an earpiece for making calls. So all in all, just my general very first impressions for the Nexus 6. The design, for being such a big phone, I would have liked to seen a more grippable backside for the phone, and just the sheer size of it, for this being Google's big flagship smartphone, I would have really liked to seen a smaller form factor, maybe 5.7 inches or so with the phone, and maybe some optimization for Lollipop here with it being such a big display. Now, the Nexus 6 does start selling for $649 with a 32 gigabyte option for storage, and then I think it's $50 more at $699 for 64 gigs of storage. No expandable storage in there though, and the whole price point for the Nexus 6, a lot of people got really ticked off about it, because the Nexus 5 last year, and really all Nexus products before that, were known for having such low price points. So the Nexus 5 last year, to compare, had a starting price point of $349, and the Nexus 6 is $300 more at $649. But honestly, if you look at other smartphones on the market that have comparable specifications, that have comparable storage sizes, it's actually a little bit cheaper than other flagships on the market, because this is a full-fledged flagship smartphone. You're paying for a full flagship smartphone. And really, it is a very good phone. It feels very premium. This is one of the best ways you have if you want to experience Android. It's a Nexus product, so you're going to get updates to the phone. In fact, there's already an update for 5.0.1. So if you want a phone that's going to get the latest and greatest of Android as soon as it comes out, this is still probably one of the best phones you can get if you're a die-hard Android purist. You want to have just the raw and sheer power of vanilla Android. It's still probably one of your best canvases to experience that on. Just for most users out there this holiday season, I would say if you know you really love big smartphones and you want to have those Android updates as soon as you can get them, it is a really solid phone just for my impressions so far. I'm not going to give a final verdict since I've only had the phone for about 48 hours right now. But if you're shopping, this is kind of a niche product still, just because of how big it is, and just because the Nexus lineup has always been kind of geared more towards people like us who are in the tech field, who want to have that latest version of Android as soon as it's available. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know this device a bit more, since I myself am kind of an Android purist at heart and always will be. So really looking forward to testing it out and really seeing how it does perform over this weekend. So do you guys have any questions so far about it, just maybe performance or design or anything like that?
No, I don't. You haven't had it long enough to ask things like important to me, like, what's the battery look like, or, how's the overall, one of the big things I think people have been having problem with in KitKat in general, and I know it's true on the N9. Now, does that have 2 or 3 gigs of RAM?
It has 3 gigs of RAM.
Okay, so it may not have the problems. The LMK, that is the low memory killer in Lollipop, seems to go nuts. And just kill off like everything it possibly can. So I'm curious to see if that's just a problem of the N9 and 64-bit and only having 2 gigs of RAM, which was stupid, or if it's a Lollipop issue in general, because I don't seem to have it as much on my Moto X.
Yeah, and we also have Mark left a comment in here once again on the Q&A. He said he must say the power button, or the Motorola power button, is the best of all phones. And I do have to give him credit for that, because I don't think it's going to really show up in the video. But the power button on the Nexus 6 and actually the Moto X as well is textured a bit differently. So when you're kind of holding the phone in one hand, you can slide your thumb over it and feel that kind of different texture on the power button. So you know right away that, yeah, that is a power button, and it's differentiating itself from the volume rocker. So that is a nice feature, and I was actually surprised that transition from the Moto X over to the Nexus 6. And Juan Sanchez left a question. He wants to know weight comparison. I'm not sure what the exact weight for the device is, but it is pretty heavy. Compared to the Moto X, you definitely do feel a weight difference, but that's to be expected with such a huge phone. But this is a phone you're going to be using with two hands, so it's not like you're going to be holding it in one hand and just using it like that without two-handed use. So just kind of
6.5 ounces, 184 grams.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a pretty beefy phone. It's actually relatively trim. It's not the thinnest phone out there by any means, but it could be a lot thicker for how big of a display and battery and all that you're packing in. So yeah, it is a bit heavy, but it just has a good amount of substance to it, something you really would come to expect from such a massive smartphone.
Does it have double tap to wake? I don't know if it does or not.
It does not, but it does have the, let me see if I can get it to pop up at all. It does have the ambient display mode where if you pick the phone up and it's not going to turn on right now. But basically, if you do get a notification on it, the screen will kind of light up quickly with a black background and white text, kind of similar to the active display on the Moto X, showing you all your notifications, and then you can go in that way and access them that way. But there is no, unfortunately, a double tap on the Nexus 6 right now. So a very long answer to that short question. But yeah, it's like I said, good impressions so far, but definitely still need a lot more time to really get into a lot of detail for it.
Looks like we have a question over in the Q&A. Juan Sanchez wants to know how's it compare with the OnePlus, the OnePlus One.
Compared to the OnePlus One, again, it's hard to tell just since my time with it hasn't been too extensive. But on the OnePlus One, before I actually shipped it out to a guy who bought it on Swappa. Compared to the Lollipop experience on that, which on the OnePlus One I was running an alpha build of Cyanogen Mod 12. But compared to that, there's definitely a size difference from 5.5 inches to 6 inches. The OnePlus One is not a small phone by any means, but you definitely do see, and you do realize how much of a difference half an inch does make with the Nexus 6 coming over from the OnePlus One. Just in kind of general software, though, you don't have all those inclusions that Cyanogen Mod put in with the OnePlus One. This is stock Lollipop, so you don't have any of those fun goodies that are thrown in with the OnePlus One. Just kind of performance in general, from what I've seen so far, it is very snappy. I haven't had really any big issues with it. Like I said, a couple instances of stutter here and there, but I do think that's more related to just Lollipop being in such its infancy with Android as a whole. Hopefully in the full review, which will be going up in the channel within a couple weeks, I'll have a lot more information put on the phone. I wish I'd gotten it sooner than just a couple hours to play with it. But coming from the OnePlus One, size difference is definitely there. You may not think a difference of half an inch from 5.5 inches to 6 inches would make that much of a difference, but in real-world use it really does. So I would say that the size difference is definitely there, but like I said, I'm sorry I can't answer your question more thoroughly just since I've had the phone for such a short amount of time.
It's the width. It's the width of the device. It's almost the same height as the OnePlus One. I've handled both and put them together at the T-Mobile store. It's the width that gets you, because that is probably the widest phone that's not like a weird phablet like this that I have out right now. That is on the market right now. It's wider than the iPhone 6 Plus. It's wider than the OnePlus One. It's wider than the Galaxy Note 4. So it's the width that's going to kill you. If you don't like a wide phone, which I've used all kinds of different 6-inch phones that are bigger than that now, that I don't mind the width. So one, I'll have some more information for you hopefully next week if I'm able to get one. I'm actually going to be switching from a OnePlus One to a Nexus 6. So it's significantly wider, but it's not that much taller as far as size difference going from one to the other.
Yeah, like Tony said, like height-wise, it's pretty much identical to the OnePlus One. I would show it off if I had the OnePlus One. But yeah, it's a very, very wide phone. Not sure if I can show it off too well. And it's always hard to show off a smartphone, so since hands vary so greatly. But it is a very, very wide phone, and probably one of the widest I've used all year. But Tony was talking about that little phablet he had right there. We're going to run out of time, but we'll run through this really quickly. We kind of put together a Side Latte Buyer's Guide. So we did our Steam and Hot Buyer's Guide last week. for kind of the best smartphones, best tablets, best laptops, all that good stuff. So we just kind of threw together a quick little segment to close us off with maybe some stocking stuffers for Christmas or its holiday season. Just kind of little tech goodies that aren't too expensive, around $100 or so, a little under. Just some good stuff that's not too expensive that you can just kind of put in a stocking or a little extra side gift under the tree. So since Tony had that tablet or that smartphone or whatever you want to call it there, let's go ahead and talk about that. What you got there?
Well, okay, so this is still technically under embargo, but it is available for sale on Amazon. So I can't really explain that to you. It's an issue between the distributor and the company. But since there's no markings on the front, I'll go ahead and show it to you. This is a phone. It's here next to my, let's see, something everybody's seen. I'll put it next to a Note 4. So here it is next to the Note 4. It is a 7-inch display, and it is running Android KitKat 4.4.2. It has a couple enhancements for usage with the extremely large display, but it is an actual phone. SIM card in it with a cell that makes phone calls, not a data-only cell like other similarly sized devices, which are not phones but are tablets. So this device is going to run you $149. You can buy it on Amazon right now. So if you say pretty please on Google, I may share that link. I can't. This is a very weird situation, and I know, but I can't tell you what device this is here on air because it's still under embargo and it has not been announced yet. I know that that's very weird that it's on Amazon, but I'm not going to do anything that would make my PR people mad at me. So very interesting device. The specs are 7-inch display at lowercase q HD. So it's a quarter of the resolution of a high def display, but it doesn't look like the low end smartphones. You can definitely see pixels, but it doesn't feel low end like a cheapy tablet from Best Buy or something, or a cheapy phone from Best Buy. But it has a 5-megapixel rear camera and a 2-megapixel front-facing camera. It has dual-core 1.3 gigahertz MediaTek processor, a gigabyte of RAM, and 8 gigs of storage with an SD slot up to 32 gigabytes, I think. It does have a flash. The 5-megapixel camera doesn't really take that bad of photos, but really, and you can buy it for $149 for most of the colors, and one of the colors right now is $137 on Amazon, $137. So really, what you would pay for this device if you bought an equivalent device from Best Buy without the cell, it gets 4G H+, 21 down. So really, if you're thinking of like grandma or grandpa wants to get into the smartphone game but doesn't read too well, it needs their reading glasses all the time, this may be a good device for them because it's just a huge phone. It really, I'm thinking people with purses, ladies with purses, this might be a device for you. If you don't care about the quality of your camera, it does work well, and I'm actually I've always loved blue, but I'm still a little surprised looking at the specs that I enjoy how well it works. The battery life is respectable. I think it's just a 3,200 milliamp hour battery, but the screen, since it's a lower resolution display, it's not pushing many pixels, so that battery life is there. And I would say this would probably be my pick for anyone who's not like a big techie who wants a cell phone that is just enormous. And me, I'm the opposite of Joe, so I'll show you something here on air. There you go. In the pocket. 7-inch phone in the pocket, right there on air. Sorry for the loud bang. But this is the one that I would totally recommend if anyone's looking to buy a gigantic phone. And I think what was my other pick on there?
Someone asked Tony, is it unlocked?
It is. It is unlocked. It's made by a colored company. A company that is named after a color. And it's unlocked. I'm using it. This is a single SIM device. Most of theirs are dual SIM. I'm using it on T-Mobile right now, it doesn't get. I think I've been having T-Mobile issues, but I've been seeing lower download speeds. But it's still usable. I mean, like you're talking 1 or 2 megabits per second. I will have a better understanding of that later because I'm pretty sure T-Mobile was having some issues around here. But it is unlocked HSPA plus 21 megabits down. And it is. When I say it's a phone, it's a phone. You answer the phone you put up to your face. It's not like answering the phone on a tablet where you have to be on speakerphone. That right there, that's the phone speaker. It's a real smartphone, and see how ridiculous I might look, but it works. I don't know. It's just so cool. It's such a novelty, and the price, it just floored me. I was thinking, what did I tell you guys? I said I hope it's under 200. So I was thinking 199. But when I saw it was 150, I'm like, this is really a no-brainer for grandma and grandpa. For anyone who hasn't had a smartphone and wants, one of those just enormous phones, like you can't afford a G Flex, something like that.
Well, I'll go ahead and throw a pick for me. I got this back in, what was it? I think June or July over the summer. This is actually Google. This is not the official Google Cardboard that Google released at the Google I/O Developers Conference this year. I got this from Unofficial Cardboard, and I'll go ahead and share a link for that on the Mobile Cup of Joe Google Plus page if you guys want to check that out, and I'll put that in the description for this video when it does go on our channel. But this thing cost me about $30, I think, $30 or $25. Fully assembled. It came to my house, and you can get different versions where it's not assembled. You can go ahead and put the parts together. But essentially, this is Google Cardboard. So basically, what you do, if you don't know, you take your Android smartphone, and they have 2 size variants for this. So this is the normal version, which fits phones up to, I think, around 5.5 inches. And then there is an extra large version for devices like the Nexus 6. But basically, all you do, you go ahead and you launch the Cardboard app, or actually this comes with an NFC tag right there. So if NFC is turned on to your phone, just go ahead and tap the back to it, and it will launch the Cardboard app. But essentially what you do, you put your phone in here, and it is held together by these straps right here, Velcro. And then when it goes in there, your phone screen is looking at those lenses in the Cardboard. So you go ahead and put that in there, and then you look through it like this, and I'm sure I look like a complete idiot right now, but you will be launched into the Cardboard application, and you can go ahead and choose different virtual reality applications on there. And if you need to select what app you want to use, you actually just pull down on this magnet right here, which triggers a touch on the phone. And this is just a little right there, it can come out just magnetized to the side right there with a magnet that's inside Cardboard to initiate actions and touches on the display. So you can actually make this yourself if you can get the build instructions off from Google directly, or you can go ahead and pick one up for 25 or $30 what I paid for it, free shipping.
Way less on Amazon, like $9 and less for the parts you put it together yourself.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways you can get it if you want to get it assembled, or if you want to buy it and put it together yourself. But it's just a really fun thing to have. There's a lot of VR applications available. You've got the base Cardboard application, which has some cool stuff. You can get Google Earth on there. Windy Day, which is one of the Motorola Spotlight stories, is on there right now. You can get kind of a tour of the Palace of Versailles and take a tour through that. Just really cool virtual reality things on there, and then there's also different ones you can download from the Play Store and use on there. So for just maybe $10, if you want to get it from Amazon, or 35 or 20 assembled and put together, if you know someone that does have an Android smartphone, and I'm pretty sure, I know not every single Android phone out there is compatible. If you go to unofficialcardboard.com, it'll have a list of the phones that you can use with it. But in my experience, every phone I've used, even the OnePlus One, it did work with this thing. And it's not something that you're going to spend hours on end with, but maybe just for an hour or 30 minutes here or there. It's just a fun thing to have to kind of get a cheap kind of foot in the door with virtual reality. And actually, there's a lot more future support coming with Cardboard that Google announced this past week. So if you know someone that's maybe wanting to get in the door with virtual reality, or just kind of a fun thing to throw in there to just kind of take a break from the real world, it really is a fun thing to play around with, and it's something I know that I've just kind of sat here in my room with some headphones, just kind of spun around my desk like this, and just playing with some fun VR. So for me, that's probably one of my top picks. And also, I'll just go ahead and run this off really quick. I got a Fitbit Flex. recently with the Nokia Lumia 830, which I'll also be reviewing hopefully within the coming couple of weeks. But the Fitbit Flex, it's not the newest fitness tracker from Fitbit, but it costs $100 or $99.95 or something, and basically just tracks your steps throughout the day. You can actually put it in a sleep mode where the thing will track you while you sleep, and it'll actually pick up what times you were restless throughout the night, when you actually did fall asleep, and when you woke up. And then you can go ahead on the Fitbit application. You can set a meal plan to track what you eat, how much water you had throughout the day, and just different stuff like that. And it's really cool. I know wearing it kind of motivated me to maybe walk a bit more where I maybe wouldn't have or so, or just kind of walk around the house a little more than I would. Take some walks outside. So it does really encourage you to be active. You can actually get different straps for the Fitbit because it comes in a variety of colors. Because really, all of the tracking is done inside of this little bit right here, and you can get different colored bands to go ahead and put it in to really customize it how you want. So if you know someone that's maybe into fitness, there's a lot of different Fitbits you can get from their website. But I've just been toying around with the Flex. This is the only Fitbit product I personally hadn't owned. But so far I've been really impressed. This one doesn't tell the time. You can get different ones that do for a few bucks more. But if you just know someone that's really fitness-oriented, this is a fantastic thing to get. It's very small. It looks fairly good for a fitness tracker, especially with all the different colors you can get for it. And $99 is not a terrible price entry point for something that tracks as much information as this does. So between that and the cardboard, those are probably just kind of my top two choices for some nice little cheaper stocking stuffers for Christmas this year.
Hey, does the N6 fit in the cardboard?
I haven't tried it. I'll go ahead and do a live test right now.
Find out since it's a Google thing.
So, it actually does not. It's not closing on here, but actually, the unofficial cardboard, they released a bigger version of this for larger devices like the Nexus 6. So this is actually the standard or the small version, but you can get one that's built bigger for these phablets. Now, I'm not saying it's going to work with the Nexus 6. I'm not sure if they made it to work with it, but I would go ahead and make a safe bet that the larger version from unofficial cardboard would work with a Nexus 6. So, Chuck, do you have any little quick?
I do, and I'm going to be super cheap. I think we found these on Amazon for $2. So if you need something super cheap, that's actually pretty awesome. So what this actually is it folds flat and then it folds out, and you can actually use it. Let's see if I can do it the right way here. You can actually use it as a stand for your phone or your tablet. So if you're sitting watching something, and you want to stand it up and you don't have a case that does that for you. I've got like 10 of these around my house. I use them all the time. They're awesome, and at $2 you can basically just put them wherever and they're always within reach. So definitely a very nice, cheap stocking stuffer that's pretty awesome to have for any tablet or phone.
Yeah, definitely going a bit cheaper than our $150 and $99. So what you can do, you can go ahead and get a $99 Fitbit Flex, or get 50 or so of those little stands right there. Whatever you want to do, whatever suits you best. So it looks like that is about it. I think we hit all of our questions in the Q&A. So that has been our wrapping up our show for this week's What's Brewing. As again, show next week, and there goes that damn Moto X again with the Google launch phrase right there. We do have our normal show again. I think this next Friday, which is going to be the 19th. So same time, we'll do it again on the 19th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll go ahead and close out some of our final plugs. Chuck, what is brewing with you this weekend?
Well, interestingly enough, I think this is public by now. If not, you heard it here first. So as some of you may or may not know, work for Chess. We've been spending the last year, I think, or year and a half, rewriting the site from scratch. We are actually rolling that out in a public beta this coming Friday, finally. So lots of exciting news. Should be a very hectic week for me.
Very exciting stuff. So what's going on in Brewing with Tony's world this weekend?
Oh wow! Well, I've got to get the Droid Turbo review typed up. I've got to I just pushed out the Note 4 Quick Look that I did due to the birth of my son and everything. I just haven't been able to do as full of coverage on everything I have sitting on my desk right now. And I have, let's see if I can do this without showing the, yeah, I think I can do this without showing all of the names. I just got this stack of devices in 2 days ago, and 3 of them haven't been announced yet. One of them is on Amazon, also hasn't been announced yet. So you'll hopefully this week. I haven't. They're pushing back the date of the embargo, so we will have to see when we can get these out. But I've got the unboxings all filmed and uploaded, just waiting to be pushed out onto the channel, and then hopefully I'll get some coverage on that. But 3 of them are LTE devices, which is just awesome from this company that they're doing LTE. So that's kind of what's up with me. I have to cover that Epson Movirio BT200 headset, so that's the one thing I've got to really push myself to do, because shooting a video of, it's like trying to shoot a video of Google Glass. It's just not an easy feat. So that's kind of what's up with me, and then just still enjoying daddy life.
And come on, Tony, quit slacking off. Why don't you get some products into review? So for me, I have got right now. I just got my Moto X in from Motorola. Absolutely loving the ebony back and the red accents up front. So I've really loved playing with this thing for the past couple days. So that's my new daily driver. But in regards to stuff I'm reviewing, I've got the Nokia Lumia 830. This is an exclusive to AT&T. The unboxing video for this should be going up either tonight, or if I get tired and decide to say screw it, it'll be going up tomorrow night. And then I also have the Nexus 6 here, which unboxing for that should be going up around the same time as the Lumia 830. So I've got both reviews for these devices to work on, as well as the Fitbit Flex here, which I got to put up a little review for as well. And then working on my review of the OnePlus One for Droid Goblin, finishing that up, putting the bow on that. That should be coming along pretty good. So yeah, just kind of keeping myself busy with reviewing the Lumia 830, the Nexus 6, the Fitbit. Just kind of trying to get out all the reviews we can on the channel before the holiday season does get here. And I'll go ahead and kind of put in a little side note. We do have an upcoming giveaway on the channel. Hopefully we'll get a video up sometime early this coming week. But I'll go ahead. It's a very fiery review. I've used that pun a lot in the videos I covered for past products by this company. So keep your eyes out on the channel for a giveaway announcement coming up. Hopefully Monday or Tuesday I'll be getting that video up. We do have a little kind of a fun giveaway to kind of round out the year. It's nothing too big, but just kind of something to say happy holidays with. But with that said, that has been What's Brewing. Again, we'll see you all again here the same time next Friday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully we will have Fred back with us. I believe Alvy will be busy once again, so hopefully we will have him back sometime soon before 2014 is out. That is going to do it for us. So for me, for Chuck and Tony, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to use the hashtag MCOJBrew on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you do want to use it, to leave us any more questions you do have for the show, and we'll get those throughout the week if we do see those. Be sure to check out this video on the Mobile Cup of Joe YouTube channel, because it will be archived and uploaded directly to that. And keep your eye out throughout the weekend for some unboxings for the Lumia 830 and the Nexus 6. But with all those plugs out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for taking a swig of your Mobile Cup of Joe with us, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.